Thank you. It's 5:05 exactly on the dot. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending wherever you are joining us. It's lovely to have you here on the session, a platform where we share information and share about entrepreneurship and try to empower all of our entrepreneurs as much as we possibly can. It's very cold in Johannesburg, and I'm sure that wherever you may be, you are warm like we are here over in Joburg. And thanks once again for taking your time to join this session. This session is obviously recorded for your own reviewing and viewing thereafter, in case for those people who may have problems with load shedding and others who may not be able to join today. So you can always refer them to Unclaimed Manono TV on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Today's session is very important. It's a session that is very close to my heart. It's a session that we thought we need to invite experts and people who know better about these issues, people who can come and teach us and educate us about matters that are very important to our lives as human beings. We know we are here temporarily in this part of the earth. We are alive for up to a number of years, and quite often we have lots of challenges when we are gone because we have not set up our house, or put rather our house in order. Our house must be put in order, understanding that whatever wealth we have put together and whatever assets we may have put together as business people, as entrepreneurs, and as people who work, accumulating all of those assets and all of the wealth and whatever else that would have accumulated, we must make sure that it's not misused thereafter, or we leave things hanging. There are many, many instances in this country in particular, and wherever else in the world, where people work and work and work and forget to put their house in order in terms of drawing up wills and making sure that they put up trusts and do all the necessary things. I remember recent cases in South Africa where currently, I spoke about this on one of my radio shows, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is now looking for people who used to own shares in billions, unclaimed, because somewhat the owners of those shares and owners of those assets, they are nowhere to be seen. They can't be traced. So people are being called upon to say, come and see if maybe your father, your mother, your uncle, your brother, your sister may have put some shares aside or bought some shares, and those shares have appreciated in value over time. And things like those that really become very painful when you see that maybe the family of that particular person is poor, is having problems, but they do not know that their father, their uncle, their sister, their brother had some shares that they bought, but they never maybe disclosed, or something happened, they shifted and moved from one place to the other, or they forgot about that. And some obviously tend to hide stuff, because you don't want your spouse, your friend, or your family to know. Or maybe, you just lose your mind. There's dementia, and other people start having those types of challenges in life all of a sudden, and yet they have got things stashed up and nobody knows about that. In South Africa, we have had a lot of such cases. I always refer as well to the Masisizane funds with Old Mutual. Some of you may know those funds. When Trevor Manuel was still our Minister of Finance in South Africa during Nelson Mandela president's era, there was such a situation as well where a certain number of shares were never claimed, to a point where they had to try and create a fund to help entrepreneurs because after calling upon the public to say, come check your shares, claim them, etc., nobody came forward. Some people had died long time ago. It's a number of cases, a number of situations that happen. And others, they just live as if they are going to live permanently and live forever. Like all of us, it's a mistake that we make thinking that we are going to be here in perpetuity. And all of a sudden, death strikes, finding ourselves in problems, and rather our families in problems, and many, many families. I was talking to one of our a sister advocate a couple of days ago. She was citing exactly such issues where families are now destitute. They cannot move. They have to downgrade their lifestyle because the money is there, but there has not been any proper planning put in place. So today's session is so crucial in a sense that I believe it's going to help you to know how to navigate this maze and this life so that you can be in a position to really, really get yourself ready and really put your house in order, as it were. With the number of assets some of you own, there are millionaires here. I know on this platform we've got very rich people, and we've got very, very able people. We've got people who are going to be very rich as well, millionaires and billionaires. Please get your house in order and make sure that you start on the good footing and the good note. Thank you. Welcome once again. I'm going to hand over this session to my dear brother and friend of many, many years. He's a doctor, Dr. Manono, who is in KwaZulu-Natal. Besides being the minister of the gospel, he is an entrepreneur, and he is a person who is well-traveled. He's a speaker. He speaks globally. Dr. Manono, I have got my friends from the States here who always join us because we have got a lot of great network all across the globe. We've got people from Eswatini, Zimbabwe, and elsewhere. So he does speak in America as well quite often. And he's a great man who's really, we grew up together as young people in the student Christian ministry, and he's done very, very well for himself and has been truly instrumental in trying to change people's lives in driving social economy and enabling entrepreneurship and assisting people opening their eyes around these issues. So we thought there's nobody who's better placed than him. He can give you more about his profile in addition to what I've said. And I'm now going to hand over to him. I'm sure, Dr. Manono, you are going to need to present something. I'm going to make you a host so that whatever you want to present, you can be able to. Over to you, Shenge Pungash.
Baba Nonkosi, our dearest chairperson and our hosts. I'm not sure, am I audible? Am I audible, colleagues?
Very audible, yes. Go ahead.
Am I audible enough?
See you. Yes.
Well, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity just to share with you today on this powerful topic of estate planning in general, and just the basics, the benefits of having a legal will in place, and to set up some trust if you have that particular need. Maybe before I get down into the nitty-gritties, let me just give this disclaimer that this is by no means a financial advice. This is just information sharing, because the FAIZ laws dictate that you need to do a proper financial needs analysis before you can recommend any financial product. So this is just a conversation between colleagues to say these are the issues which are important for the safekeeping of your legacy, because every one of us is born, we live, and very soon we die. And it so happens that many people of color, we do a whole lot of financial planning, We do a lot of investment planning, like Mr. Kaba was saying, our chairperson. We do a lot of, including retirement plannings, investment plannings, including life covers, funeral covers. Especially South Africa is a gold mine. Funeral industry is a gold mine in South Africa. No country in the continent which invests so much in the funeral industry like South Africans do. I don't know what could be the causes for that, but that's the bottom line. There's no other part of Africa with so much investments in the funeral space. What shocks me, with all those billions invested in the funeral industry and all the customs we do after we've buried our loved ones, we seem not to have learned the power and the significance of estate planning. And that has caused a whole lot of family breakups. That has caused a whole lot of misfortunes, loss of destinies. We have a new phenomenon in our cities in South Africa where we have young people in thousands. The city of Durban alone, the number is estimated to be around 15,000 of young people who have hit the streets and who are now called homeless. They even given them a name called Amapara. It's not a proper, English word, but that's the local jargon that people use, for young people who went to very good schools, who speak very good English, but they've become drug addicts. They stay on the streets. The city of Durban has even said this is beyond the city, the metropolitan can do. It's actually a United Nations crisis. This should be a United Nations matter because it's increasing rather than decreasing by any means. So we just decided to intervene to say, perhaps if we can start to do more education on the workforce of South Africa, to say, let us plan over and above the financial planning, the funeral planning, the retirement planning. Let us also put our house in order when it comes to wills, trust, and estate. Other people call it the ruling from the grave. I don't think you're actually ruling from the grave, but the will is also called a last testament. Most of us here come from a Christian background. Whenever you are born, you are dedicated using the Bible. When we get married, they use the Bible, they use the scripture to do those vows. And when people die, they also go back to the altar for the ministers and the pastors, to wrap up their farewell sessions right up to the graveyards. And that is the book that we most believe on, called the Bible. It comprises of two sections. It's called the Old Testament and the New Testament. And that word testament simply means wishes of the deceased. And now people have been reading and feeding on the testaments, but they dread, they are so much afraid to write their own testaments, because the Old Testament was written by the Moseses of the time and others. And so is the New Testament, was written by Paul. If you look and you name them. And how about us living today? We are not asking you to write biographies or autobiographies. We are simply asking you to write your own wishes so that you can speak when you can't speak no more. In Africa, we have a cultural practice called polygamy. I know Christians in most platforms, they denounce polygamy and so on, but the very same people who are Christians now, some of them were not born Christians. They've got children outside wedlock, and some of them are maintaining those children. The financial responsibility you have beyond your marriage could be construed and interpreted as financial dependence. Lawyers are always ready to fight at any given time. And the Marriage Act of South Africa also makes provision for the customary for the customary marriage or for the customary law, Marriage Act, which allows couples to have more than one partners or more than one spouses. So the fact that you are married, irrespective which kind of marriage you have, but the law, the Marriage Act, also allows any one of us to have more than one wife or more than one husband. So when we are deceased, HR officers who are here can attest to me. There is many spouses who come to HR offices to claim, to government pension fund offices who come to claim, to say, I was a spouse also who were married, or I was simply a girlfriend, I am financially dependent. So when you take that matter to the courts of law, a financial loss and a financial dependent is also guarded as a biological dependence. So when you don't have a will in place, the Estate Administration Act of South Africa, it was passed in 1965. It gives a clear outline what needs to happen when one is deceased, every one of us, whether you have a will or you don't have a will. This conversation, I would like you, I'm sorry that I'm not sharing any slides, but I hope people will just take down some notes. There's 5X that I would expect people just to go and research. AI will teach on this, and AI doesn't give advice, they simply gives information. So that when you consult from information, you ask informed questions. The first law is that the Wills Act of 1953. The Wills Act of 1953 makes a provision that everyone who wrote a will, what is written on the will becomes the final testament. It's what the courts will take as the last wishes of the deceased. So that puts every South African, because I'm talking about South African law now, there are different laws in other countries, but the wills, it's a universal law. When you have a will in place, your assets are distributed according to your will, according to the wishes dictated in your will. But what makes a will valid? Because we've had so many cases where assets were not distributed, so many celebrity families in this country, and many famous people and business people whose assets took about years, 5 years, 10 years and more, because there was a contestation of the will. Some people said the will was forged, the signatures and so on. A will, a legal will, a legal and a valid will must be signed. That's number one. It should not have some corrections. It should not be scratched. Number three, the will should be dated, should be signed. Number last, the will should have witnesses, people who are of age, of sober habits, who are independent, which simply means you can't have your beneficiaries as signatures of your will. You may not have to draft your will with the lawyers or the legal experts per se. You can actually draft your will at home with your own hand, but it stands as a benefit to have it drafted by the experts, because they draft it with all the legal jargon. They draft it in full view and full understanding of the current estate administration laws regulating all estates in South Africa. So let me just move on to say, you cannot talk about wills and estate planning and not make mention marriage regimes, Marriage Act in South Africa. The current Marriage Act in South Africa of 25 was passed in 1961. There's been amendments thereafter and so on and so forth, but that's the current law that we have. The one that's giving us the incoming of property, which is the civil marriage, incoming of property, and it also talks about antenuptial contract, which is out of commit of property, and the antenuptial contract, it's abbreviated as ANC, not the political party. It's called ANC. ANC is separated into two segments. There is ANC with accrual and ANC without accrual. And then we also have the recognition of customary marriages. That one was passed not long ago. It was passed. Let me just be accurate, and I expect people to note these things down. It was passed in 1998. It was passed in 1998, which recognizes customary marriages. Now, that has become a burning issue, because when does customary marriage becomes marriage according to law? According to our practice, it's only after the celebration, the traditional celebration. But according to our law, marriage laws, the recognition of a customary married couple begins on the day of Lobola, or on the day where the family of the groom come to the Kaba family to ask for your daughter. In Zulu, they call that ukucela. Whether they come with 500 rand or 1,500 rand, irrespective of the amount, the intent to marry is recognized as marriage according to South African law at this point in time. And most of us are very active, you know. Hello. Let us round up quickly, and I'm sure we will. And if the time is not enough to address personal matters, I'm sure our host will also share our contacts, so that telephonically we may give some views to those of which we'll recommend WhatsApp or an email, but mainly WhatsApp, other than calls, due to our hectic schedules and so on and so forth. But people can request that we can have those telephonic conversations if need be. But I'm just highlighting laws that regulate wills and estates in South Africa. So the Marriage Act is important to understand when you're drafting estate planning, because there are so many people who have gone to pay some lobola, or go to register an intent to marry with any kind of an amount that's recognized as a customary marriage. And some people have never seen each other for the past decade or 20 years or how many years. It has happened too many times that when you are deceased, those people, they come and claim to be a spouse. And on the ground of being a spouse, they qualify for up to 50% of your estate. When there is no will in place, you give those people a fair chance to benefit from your estate when you did not leave recorded and clear legal instructions of how you want your estate to be distributed. Where most of us Black people, we marry in the church, and pastors, I would like to hold pastors in our communities responsible on this one, that mostly they promote in community of property on the virtue of building families, and not look into the financial implications and the legal implications that comes with the in community of property contract. It is a contract. I know church folks don't view it as a contract per se. They just look at it as a holy matrimony, and the holiness and the two shall become one and all that jazz. But those of us that are in business would have to understand that you are taking ownership of business debts, of everything that the other party is coming up with into this marriage. And that has caused a whole lot of problems when these matters were not discussed prior. And another matter that I would like to emphasize to those who are not yet married, and those of you who are leaders, different sectors, including churches, make sure that you equip your young people that before they come to the two families, set a date to meet to discuss Lobola negotiations, they must see the lawyers first and be advised on which marriage contract. If they don't choose the COP, they should sign the ANC contract, the antenuptial contract first. Because after Lobolas have been paid, or the Lobola amount has been discussed, that is already a default matrimonial regime, which is COP, incoming of property, not unless stated otherwise by the lawyer contract that you must draw before the families meet. Why is that important? The Marriage Act and whether you have included your spouse in your will or not included your spouse in your will, if you're married income of property, your spouse already enjoys 50% share of the entire estate by virtue of the COP contract. That goes down even to your pensions. And I consult with the workforce in South Africa, particularly in government, on daily basis. Many of them are shocked when that fact is presented, which goes to show that such matters are not even discussed at HR levels. And most of these government departments, and including the private sector, people just simply sign out of excitement of a new role, a new package, new perks and benefits and all that. And these financially binding and legally binding matters don't get to be discussed at any point in time. I hope this conversation today will make people to revisit their pension fund agreements, revisit their nomination of benefits and beneficiaries, and I am hoping, Babu Taba, that this talk, although I'm heading towards my conclusion now, I hope it will answer some of these questions on whether is the will still necessary to me. Is it still relevant? Is it still significant? I see written questions. I will answer them as soon as I'm done with my presentation. All of them, or our host will repeat them and we'll go through them if we still do have time. Number two, okay, maybe let me attempt to answer this one. This first question: is a will still relevant to me? Is it significant to me? Do I need to have a will? Yes, so long as you're 18 years and above, whether working or not. But if you have some assets, or you have inherited something, or you are working, you may not have built, a large share of estates, or and wealth, but you must have a will. A will you can amend as many as you can, as many as you wish, so long as it's going to be dated, signed, and witnessed, and kept in a safe place. It helps to have a duplicate of your will, so that you minimize chances of contestations, even if they do, but there is a strong case, because your will is your voice when you can't speak no more. The next question I attempt to answer with this conversation is a trust. Why is a trust important? Do I need a trust? Well, in South Africa, there is two famous trusts that people qualify to have. Number one is called a testamentary trust, that you can build with your executors, that you can develop with your executors, where you are drafting your will or where you are keeping your will. And the next trust is a trust like a PTY, like an independent entity on its own. It's called an inter vivo trust. It's a trust that can do business for you. We have many like that in South Africa. For instance, we have the Ngonyama Trust, We have also the famous Ratanang Trust that's made remember, and many other inter vivo trusts which can trade and do business and own assets on its own. The testamentary trust is only enacted only after your demise, after you've deceased, particularly when you still have minors or you have children with special needs that will need trustees to manage their assets as long as live. And I see somebody's asking about the cost of a trust. It depends with your lawyers. Lawyers, they charge different amounts. It's not regulated what they can charge on a trust. Some fees are regulated, like executor fees, which is my next point. Like I said, it's important when you draft a will to appoint an executor, because by law, when your assets, the threshold of an estate, if it's below 250,000, your family can distribute without any executors, without any lawyers. But if it so happens that your estate is more than 250,000 rands, like many of you here, don't ask me how do I know. I prophesy in the other side of my life. You can shout, go deeper, Papa. Go deeper, Papa. I'm going deeper right now. Okay. All right. If your estate is more than 250,000 rands, then it can only be distributed by an executor. The banks are not executors. Not all lawyers are executors, but they are happy to keep custody of your wills at a cost, some of them free of charge. However, when you are deceased, it's only a practicing executor that needs to wind up your estate. Some people appoint their own family members as executors. It's the law allows that you can appoint your family member as an executor. But the truth of the matter is that when they go through bereavement, and some people mourn the longest time, and some people, when a spouse, a child, has been deceased, they take time to recover. So it always helps your own benefit to appoint professional executors. Now, when your estate is about 250,000, you don't have the leisure of saying, I don't want an executor, because by law, an executor must be appointed. If it so happens that you are caught dead without appointing your own executor, a law called Interstate Succession Act is also applicable to those who die without drafting their own will. If you are caught dead without drafting your own will, without appointing your own executor, like many people who are deceased, who died without all that, what happens in that case? You give more problems to your government. Right now, government of South Africa is sitting with billions upon billions of unpaid pension funds. Unpaid, they want to pay, but there's nobody coming to claim. If people come, it's girlfriends, it's baby mamas, it's it's a very frivolous kind of claims, and government will never know your love life, will never know your background. Even your employers will never know that. Now we pile up problems upon problems, and we begin to accuse. There's a saying in Zulu that says, I'll try to directly translate. In Zulu it says, "Ifa leziwula lidliwa izihlakaniphi." Say the wealth of the foolish will be enjoyed by the wise. That's just a lousy translation of it. So if you're gonna accumulate some monies and not leave clear instruction, you don't need to be, it doesn't have to be millions. If you're caught dead with 100 rand in your pocket, in your purse, there should be some instructions who should inherit that. Recently, some banker was playing with a 20 million rand estate. They caught her after she had withdrawn 1 million. Because here is 20 million rand sitting in a bank somewhere. 10 years has passed. No one is coming to claim. So you tempt people with these unclaimed, wealth and riches, be it in pension funds, be it properties lying unclaimed there by the deeds office. Properties in South Africa who belong to the deceased, the stats are shocking, because children who live in the property or who are supposed to inherit those properties, they were not equipped. And there was no money left, disposable cash left to them, or there was no guidance who was supposed to tell them that you need to pay conveyancers to transfer those assets from the deceased to the living. Because you can't own a house when you're deceased. I know black people, they believe I'm an ancestor, I still own it. But believe you me, in the records and the laws of the Republic and our countries, you cannot own your millions when you're no longer alive. I see some Pagatis asking, can you have more than one executor? Yes, you can have. You can appoint professional executor and appoint your family member. But family members, sometimes they get conflicted when they're supposed to decide over a precious car, a precious holiday home, because people have their own personal interests. But it's advisable. You can always have, a reliable family member to work with professional executors. And also the last 3 points that I hope to cover, I'm rounding up now, Mr. Nonkosi, so that you round up the conversation nicely. Your will and your investments should also make provision for estate duty expenses. When you are deceased, your children, they become beneficiary number 6 or number 7. There's about 5 or 6 financial taxes or legal payments that must be made, including conveyancer fees, executor fees. Conveyancer fees and executor fees are regulated by government, just like VAT. But there's also many other taxes, like if your estate is more than 250,000. If it's more than 250,000, no, I'm sorry, not 200. If your estate, combined estate, your joint estate is more than 3.5 million, there's another tax that kicks in as part of your estate duty taxes. Is called capital gains tax. Your accounting class would remind you of that. CGT. Over and above these other taxes, from estate duty taxes, inheritance tax, and executors, conveyancers, all about 5 or 6 of them that must be paid first before your children are paid. So it's important that your will makes provision for that. Because in some households, in some families, properties had to be sold, cars had to be sold to make provision for all these expenses that all of us are liable for when we are deceased. So you should leave clear instruction and have some protection in place, maybe with some investments or some life covers that will simply take care of the estate duty costs. The high cost of dying. It's expensive to be caught dead in this day and age. Have some mitigation measures that will protect your 40 years service, your 40 years of working hard. And let me conclude by this one. I've been saying I'm concluding like a typical preacher, but this is the last one now before we move in, before I hand over to our chairperson. If I am married in community of property, Is it still necessary for me to draw a will? Yes, it is important for you to draw a will. It is important for you to nominate and to state who your spouse is, to recognize your spouse. Because so many spouses and spices emerge from everywhere when you are deceased. Many people claim to be, I see a friend of mine there who's one of the HR directors in the city of Durban. I'm sure he can attest to this one, that many unknown spouses, unknown to the family, who will come with evidence. And if they have evidence, hardcore evidence in black and white, like financial dependence and any other, the court will entertain that, especially if there is no will in place. Because it does not matter how many spouses you have. If you have a will, only that one on your will be recognized. And so is your children. Does not matter how many children you have. It's only those that you are acknowledging. It's only those that you are bequeathing some percentages. Those are the only ones who will be your beneficiaries, not only by birth. The fact that they look like you does not mean they will inherit. I think I can hold it right here for now. And I've covered a bit on marriage, and I've covered a bit on the X that everybody needs to research a bit, seek to understand, which are the Wills Act, the Marriage Act, the Pension Fund Act, the Estate Administration Act, and lastly, the Interstate Succession Act, which simply gives government power when you were too busy to draft, when you were too busy to nominate your own beneficiaries, when you were too busy to appoint your own executor, when you were too busy to distribute to affairs. You give power to government. And we all know when you give power to government, that government does not have a sense of agency. Years will pass by until there is no more beneficiaries. And most of our pension acts, they say, if nobody comes to claim your pension up to 30 years, you donate it back to government. So we need good Samaritans who will always donate to government their pension funds and all what they work for in 40 years. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was such an honor to have this conversation with you. I believe we added some value, we added some ideas, we made you uncomfortable a bit, but a discomfort is important for your growth, and we shouldn't postpone this any longer and any further. It's about time we start to conversate and have some documents printed, signed, and kept in safe custody somewhere. Thank you so very much. Over to you, our host, Baba Nonkos. Siabo.
Thank you so much, Shenge. So just remain on camera so that if there are any person who wants to engage you, we sometimes allow people to raise their electronic hands so that they can ask questions direct. But just before whilst I await people to raise their hands, I wanna just emphasize something here that I think this is more of the document management. I'm a quality practitioner, my other hat. You know, when you don't have proper document management, things get messed up. And as Shena is mentioning, if you really look around, you can see lots of people were caught off guard, not ready for their demise. And as a result, like I said when I started off, their offspring, their children are left, to chance in life, and when they had worked so hard. So this just being the first of our sessions, we want to really trigger this most important process with your wealth, your estate, and everything else that we are trying to do, so that we really get you in shape. And you don't want to be an ancestor that is going to look down and say, oh, how I wish I had done things better, when you start seeing your family having real problems. So I just want you to please ask questions to Mr. Manono, Dr. Manono. I see Maglo has got the hand raised, and Sifanele Gogo. In that order, if you can, Sheng, I always like to take 3 sets of questions all at once, so that we can just write down what the questions as they are asking them. And so I will go in that order. Thanks, by the way, Sifanele, for summarizing it for us. Appreciate you, brother. And then let me start with Maglo, Sifanele, and Slindile. And I will come to you, Dr. Kwaza, later. Let's start with Maglo.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks, Nongosi, for this very important topic. My question, I think maybe Dr. Manono didn't see it. I posted it there on the chat. Or why is it a conclusion that when we marry in terms of the Lobola, the type of marriage is community of property? Why is that the case? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sisi. Let me move to Sifanele.
Thank you, Nonkosi. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Manono. Thank you so much for a very informative session. I wanted to find out, maybe there might be someone who has a question in connection with an antenuptial contract. What is the remedial action if the contract was drawn after Lobola had been paid? So what are possible ways of rectifying that? Because I think a lot of people know that we can have an antenuptial contract as long as the marriage is registered with Home Affairs. But in a case where the antenuptial contract is actually drawn after the Lobola. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mwelas. I don't want to blow it up for you. He just got married, this gentleman. I was there in his wedding at Eshowe. I hope he's not asking this question because of himself right now. Thank you so much, Spanele. Let's go to Cindy. Thank you.
Good evening, Siyabonga Baba for this session. Just got me at a time when next week was my target to have my will done. I've been going in circle about it, but thank you for this information. I have 2 questions. I want to find out, I have been in a situation whereby I was staying with someone, Lobola was paid, there was no celebration done. Okay, then abusive relationship, I had a protection order done for the person. He had to move out of the house. Then I remained, and I had some of the things, for example, like a car that we owned together, but the document are under his name. So he then went to make a criminal case against me to say I stole his stuff. So as we go to court, we exchanging affidavits. In one of his affidavit, he denies the fact that he sent people to my family to pay Lobola. Fast forward, everything has been resolved. Now it's done. And then now I want to find out, can I use the statement that he made under oath to get myself out of that customary marriage? Because I have a copy of that Lobola letter he has, and should anything happen to me, I'm not guaranteed that he can use that letter, to want to benefit from my estate. Can I be able to use that statement that he made under oath, that he didn't send people to my family to get myself out of that marriage? 1. 2, the other question I wanted to find out is that if I have my assets put under a trust, does that protect my assets entirely, even if I'm married in community of property? Thank you.
Dr. Manono, over to you. Yeah, I hope you noted those questions. We're going to go to other questions later.
Thank you so much. Yes, I did. I will start with this one that says, why is Lobola then considered as income property? Is the current laws that we have? I understand the Parliament was doing consultations again on the current Marriage Act in the month of March. I'm not sure whether written submissions they have closed, but you can still check with Parliament. I think they want to make some amendment, because the way it stands now, because most customary marriages were not recognized. Like my mom got married in 1960, before this law was passed in 1961. When she was deceased in 2010, she died like a single woman on the death certificate. It was written, never married. Yet she stayed. We're married to my dad for more than 50 years. So it's the way the law is, and the law doesn't have feelings, it doesn't consider any facts except hardcore evidence that's presented at that particular time. She had no marriage certificate, so therefore she is single. So if you want to dispute, you're gonna take some more time. So but then the way as the way things stand, when the law to recognize when, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, and let me just continue with answering. When the law was passed to recognize customary, it was passed on condition that the ukucelwa, noma the paying of lobola, is regarded as an intent to marry, because there is no set fee for lobola by law. So and it's not even warranted within the ambits of the law that you must pay lobola to be married. Now the law doesn't recognize that. So the moment the families begin to meet, it's recorded. That's why it should be advised that people should see a lawyer and draft an ANC if they don't want the COP. They should draft an. Somebody asked, let me move to this one. Somebody say, can I draft the ANC after lobola? Yes, you still can if the two agrees. The problem is that when lobola has been paid, or one partner dies, or the relationship sours, so that becomes the challenge. Like question number 3, who said there is records of lobola that has been paid, but there is a statement under oath that I did not send anyone. That statement alone does not dissolve the customary marriage. The only way to dissolve customary marriage is through the magistrate court. The letter will help your argument to canvass your case, make your case stronger. So you just need to go to the magistrate courts to dissolve that customary marriage. It must be dissolved. The fact that you've not been speaking for 30 years, he does not know or she does not know where I'm staying, what I do, or he has gone on, he has moved on and paid lobola for others and others, it does not dissolve the customary marriage. And the customary marriage allows more than one spouse or spouses. I like to call them spouses. Please forgive me, excuse my English. Yeah, so that's just about it, ladies and gentlemen. I think I attempted to answer all 3 questions. If not properly answered, we
Sure.
can chat after this. I'll be available for about an hour.
No problem. Let's talk
After
to. Thank you so much, Dr. Manono. Let's talk to Babkoza and take the last batch of questions. Babkoza.
Oh, thank you very much, Nokos. Also, thank you very much, Dr. Manono, for such an informative presentation. Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to find out which is the safest place to do the will between the bank and the attorneys. And especially with the attorneys, is it a specific attorney that is specializing on the wills, or any attorney that is legal practitioner in South Africa. I'm asking this question because some they will say the attorneys or the lawyers can gang up with the family and maybe steal the money for especially if the abantwana they are still young. They can agree between them if maybe they say those lawyers are criminals. I also saw on TikTok one lady was saying, I'm not going to mention the name of the bank, that her father left them such amount millions of money, and the bank started to formulate a fraudulent debt that their father was owing the bank. So she said she's still fighting that because she's sure that her father never owed a bank. So now I'm trying to see which is the safest place between the two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koza. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? I'm taking the last batch. Yes. By the way, Dr. Manono is going to be available for you. I think if you can talk, just guide people in terms of how they reach you, because this is your daily work.
Oh, no, Nkosi. Thank you so much for such a wonderful speaker. Thanks to Dr. Manono. Some of the things I want to concur with Manono. One, the only saver is to rely on the mitigation factors. What are those? Formation of a trust. Because with the marriage certificate, is always subject to interpretations. Even with the will, it's subject to so many interpretations. And with the will, we have got all sorts of forms of trust formation, where you will donate everything that you have, even your bank account, your property, everything. You donate it to the inter vivos. You donate it to the living trust. It's a wide range of things, but some other things where a person says leaves the will to the fact that I donate 50% of my estate to the spouse or to the kids. It's just like a silent will. You are just donating, but as to how to do it, you are saying nothing. So it becomes unexecutable will in case of some squabbles, especially with the today's system where our kids have got more rights than us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Maybe Dr. Manono, over to you, that question, as well as the comment by Sibalkulu.
Okay, thank you so much. The issue from Umkatini to say which is the safest place to keep my will, in my view, I would say the safest place is to keep your will with the executors, because including insurance companies now, they're also drafting wills, you know, and keeping wills, in the sense that they will be part of your executors in the future, because executors by law, they charge 3.5% plus VAT of the entire estate. So that's good money if it's millions in the estate. So everybody is gunning for that now. So I would say, you know, depending on the relationship we have with the law, almost all law firms, they would say, no, you can keep it with us, because they see an opportunity of getting a stake on the executor fees, even if they are not executors. But, you know, the attorneys, they appoint, you know, just they give instructions. Like an attorney can't go to the High Court, they must appoint a senior counsel just to go and advocate, to go in their behalf, you know, giving instructions. And so is when they file to wind up an estate, but they don't practice fiduciary law. They don't practice estate law, because law, just medicine or any other discipline, has got areas of specialization. You know, people specialize. You're not a general dealer. You don't do anything. There's labor law, there's family law, you know, there is maritime law, you know, there is all kinds of property law, there is estate law. So lawyers, they specialize on the Satan law that they've measured on, you know. So, but lawyers refer business amongst each other based on specialization. So no lawyer will say, I don't do it, you know. I won't keep your will because they want to share from the executor fees, just like your banks. Banks are not executors. I'm sorry to say this, but it's the truth. We are the largest executors in South Africa, our company called Capital Legacy, including the banks, the insurance companies, and the office of the master. Most of estates which were not appointed executors, without executors appointed, those deals, they end up with us. They come to us, but we are one of many. But it's just that we happen to have a controlling share, a controlling stake in the executor industry in South Africa. So I normally say to people, when you have a will drafted, is also appoint an executor. Maybe it's about time we research executors in your areas. You will find one or two, especially in small towns. It's not so many. And you know, try to build a relationship. No one will refuse to get the appointment because it's business to them. But if it so happens that you don't have, you can appoint us to be your executors in the future. And yeah, so I think I've answered the issue of the banks, the attorneys, or you know, stuff like that. You just need to find the executor. But all of them, they have the right, if they have a will with you, they have the right due to the provisions of the Interstate Succession Act to appoint on your behalf if you didn't appoint one. Let me go to a question for, no, it's a comment from Abu Jamin, which was a very, very wise comment to say, have some mitigation measures in place to protect your estate with trust or with some investments or with some policies that will pay that, which won't be inherited by your children, which will pay directly depending on the size of your estate, to take care of all these liabilities that are payable before your beneficiaries are paid. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Just a quick one to Mundisa. Mundisa, what is your question? This is the last.
It's not a question, actually. I just wanted to comment. There is that week on September. I think it's 5 days for wheels. You do wheels for free. If maybe next time, maybe a week before, then we can have a session and then remind people to go and do their wheels. Thanks.
Thank you so very much. I think I saw that. And thanks so much, Mundisa, for reminding us. There is a question, I think, by Mr. Mashinini. In Soweto, Dr. Manono, can you contest the wrong decision of the bank colluding with the siblings so that a will can be edited after the deceased? Dr. Manono?
Yes, can you repeat the question for me, Nonkosi? I'm sorry.
Can you contest a wrong decision? Can you contest a wrong decision of the bank? It's there, it's written in the comments. When the banks have colluded with the siblings so that the will can be edited after the deceased, passed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yes, you can contest. A will cannot be edited when the when the author is deceased. Then that will, has been manipulated. Yeah, but the contestation of wills is a long matter. Is a very long matter. You know, those of us in KZN, we know that the past 3 or 4 kings on the throne in the Zulu kingdom, all of them set by will, and many other kings in many monarchies, they sit by will. And such cases, they drag in the courts for the longest time. Contestation, you know, of the will, to say the will was forged, you know, to prove that it takes a whole lot. It takes a whole lot. That's why we normally say, when you have a will in place, have more than one copy. It strengthens your case. Have a copy in your safe at home. Have a copy by your HR, or have your copy by your advisor, financial advisor, your banker, your law, which is the same, duplicate. It strengthens your case. But to have one will, one copy somewhere, signed by one person without witnesses, it makes the case very, 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 very weak. And lawyers don't mind contestation. We do contestation. They do contestation for a living, you know. So you leave a loophole. They will build a very, very, very strong case. So, but by law, you cannot change what has already been signed and sanctioned on a will. Any
Fantastic.
alteration is fraud.
It's fraud, yeah. Thanks so much, Bokang. Long overdue. We need to have these conversations more. Definitely, Bokang will do that. That's just a comment. Appreciate it. And all others who have commented. Dr. Manono, let's not apologize for you selling your services on this platform. It's very important. You have to tell people how do they get hold of you.
Okay.
How do you assist? Because the reason for this platform is exactly to be able to assist people. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Baba Nonkosi. That's very generous and very kind of you. Yeah, we consult on drafting of wills and keeping custody of wills, and obviously the winding up of estate in the future, which is not a personal agreement between you and I. It's done through our company, Capital Legacy, which is the largest executor in the country, or which gives you some peace of mind that when Manono is no longer there, when I'm deceased, you don't have to look for another, executor, but it's company to company. So we are able, and our will is different in the sense that apart from the fact that we are the largest executors, we're not just a family lawyer, we're not just your insurance company financial advisor, or we're not just your preferred bank, but we are the largest, we are the last man standing that winds up the estates and the largest in the country. So we also build our wills with a testamentary trust, provided you have minors. So many companies who are saying they're doing wills, and we all draft wills for free, because South Africa is having a problem, a big problem when it comes to estate planning. So that's why we've taken this undertaking to say, let's all do these wills free of charge. Almost everyone, every insurance company, every bank, they're saying, we're drafting your will free, only this, that, and that other costs, So a free will in South Africa is available even online. You can download a template and draft yourself a free will. The only issue is appointment of the executor and the mitigation costs, making provision for all those estate duty taxes that are liable and payable when you are deceased. I am, however, contactable at Manono@Capital Legacy. That's my email address, manono@capitallegacy.co.za. Or you can get me on 082-398-3630. I'll repeat the number, 082-398-3630. I'm based in Durban, but we are a national company. We've got offices in Bryanston and in Nelspruit, in Cape Town, and in Durban. So, and we also have satellite offices and other distribution networks where we appoint broker networks and independent companies, including companies big as Sanlam. Our investors of Sanlam and Capital Legacy is the same pool of investors. So we manage their trust, and also they also make our services available to their clientele, and many of you are familiar with Sanlam. So in short, you may get hold of me. If I may not be able to assist you by virtue of distance, I'll refer you to my colleagues or our network around the country. Thank you so very much for the opportunity, Baba Nonkosi Ugwanda kwalo mthakathi.
Shangomkolo, if you can please just put your numbers and your emails on that particular in the group chat, so that every little detail you have mentioned, people would be able to refer to it. Thank you so much. Colleagues, I want to thank you sincerely for having taken your time to come and listen to this very, very important session today. We promise that we're going to continue with these sessions, going even deeper in terms of what else, what more needs to be done so that you can be equipped and well armed, so as to avoid all of what we see, as Dr. Manono has mentioned, that South Africa has got a big problem when it comes to estate planning. It's very sad to see what is happening all around in terms of people having owned assets, and they've got large estates. And a certain colleague that I've known for years, I was not aware that he was gunned down somewhere in KwaZulu-Natal after a tender of close to $500 million. And then many others, when you start hearing that, hey, so-and-so died and things are now bad because maybe things were not well sorted out in their lifetime. Please, let's be aware that we are just mere mortals here. We are passers-by. We've got to really get our house in order, get things orderly, so that once we are gone, we at least can leave some fragrance and some, of peace behind us, and knowing that our families are well taken care of. Whether you are in a monogamous or polygamous relationships, this is South Africa. We need to, Manono, talk about that in future. I think I would love for us to dwell much on it, even including whether can you apply Section 21 to get out of the community of property, or divorce, so that you can, because, in church, we've been always taught that, hey, get into the community of property and you are one, and yet you experience business risks that can take you down, the family, just because you are in the COP and one spouse is not behaving very well or has got problems, with their own management of finances, and therefore it affects the other. And the same polygamous relationships and all those types of things, they are real. This is the law of the land. This is South Africa. We are Africans. We need to talk about those things when it comes to the Mselekus among us and other issues that we need to really discuss, because they matter a lot, and it's going to help us a lot as a people to be well equipped. I want to seriously and sincerely thank you, Shenge. We're going to be in touch further so that we can see how much of the information we need to share, and maybe get some of the other experts that can come onto the platform. Truly appreciate it for it. I've got announcements to make. We will be having in a month or so from now a meeting of the crowdfunding members. I know they've been anxious, wanting to know what is happening and etc., but only the crowdfunding members. And two, the turmeric training that we have had, it is truly going very well. I hope people that have attended, we have trained 210 people on turmeric farming in South Africa as well as in Eswatini. I'm so appreciative of the response, and I want to encourage you to please apply what you have been taught as we are preparing for the month of August, September to plant during summer season. And this we are doing. We see a lot of our farmers who already have started, and those that started a bit earlier, beautiful crops coming out the ground. And thirdly, please be on the lookout on the DTIC website, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Honorable Minister Parks Dawu is championing the 100 billion rand transformation fund, and it's open for commentary as of the 20th of March until the 7th of May, which is in a couple of days' time. Please, it's very important that you comment on those types of documents that government issues out to us, so that you understand how this fund is going to work, It's the same as the the BE, what's the fund? The Black Industrialist Fund. We commented and comment as well on all the key economic-based policies that are being published. Have a tendency to please just go through those particular documents which are issued out through government departments. We are going to be engaging them to look into a whole lot of things that are going to be helpful, are very helpful to all of us as entrepreneurs. And please be on the lookout as we announce our engagement with key stakeholders within our ecosystem of entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, colleagues. May you have a great evening and a great week ahead. And always for attending Amandla Mnoto, Operation Wele Kaya and Rural Chamber of Commerce. Much is to come. Thank you, Brother Davis, and for joining with the team from the States. Truly appreciated always, including my bishop there. I see Dr. Bishop Jones. Thank you for coming through, sir. I saw you joining in. Appreciate it. And thank you so much to all of you. We appreciate you. Brother Charles, thank you, my brother. We're going to talk. Good evening.